you have to come from a space of empathy. If you say, this worked for me when I was younger, or you need to do this because that worked for you, doesn't mean it's going to work for your young person. And times have changed so much. Like, young people have analysis paralysis around their options. And I use this metaphor when I talk to parents around, it's like when you go to a buffet dinner, right? And as a parent, you just want your young person to eat. You're like, just choose something, just eat. I just don't want you to starve. Like, it's the same with careers. It's like, just choose something. I don't want you to be unemployed. And it's like, well, hang on. We don't know if they like
chicken nuggets.
Yeah, or chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
We don't know if they're going to want to be a doctor. That might be your dream. So again, that's the kind of challenge that they're up against.
Hi everyone, welcome to More Than a Score Interrupted by Notifications. My name's Dan, this is Laura, and we also have her iPhone joining us today. Hi iPhone. iPhone, can you say something?
I've silenced my phone, but it's coming through my computer. You know, I just have to roll with it, mate.
So, hi everyone, welcome to More Than a Score, where we have disagreements openly.
I'm keeping this in.
That's great, I love that.
Yeah.
Hey, but so when you get the notification, so when you say it's silenced, and then it goes...
It's coming through a computer. It's not on my phone.
Does that mean
my computer.
Does that mean it's silenced?
Well, it's silenced on one device, but not two.
So it's not silenced.
If this was a visual platform, everyone would see the daggers I'm throwing at you right now.
Okay.
Can you just read it?
Okay. Hi, everyone. In today's episode, not only are we staring daggers, but we have a very great episode, one every parent, carer, and young person needs to hear, especially, Laura, as ATAR results roll out and the pressure dials can feel like they're turning up. We're joined by Tyson Day, a careers coach, business owner, and someone who once opened his results, saw 66.6, and genuinely thought it was the end of the world. Spoiler, Laura, it absolutely wasn't. Thanks, Laura. Tyson brings a rare mix of honesty, humour, vulnerability, and hard-won insight. He talks about undiagnosed dyslexia, feeling lost for years, working more than 10 different jobs, and the moment one coffee conversation changed the direction of his life. You better bring your A-game, Laura.
He also shares the hidden traps parents can fall into when young people are overwhelmed by career choice, and the simple shift from being a team captain to being a fan that can change everything for your teenager. If you've ever worried your young person is falling behind, if you're unsure how to support them without controlling the journey, or if your family is navigating uncertainty, this episode will give you clarity, hope, and genuinely useful next steps. Let's get into it in this episode of More Than a Score.
Woo! Good on you, Loz. Nah, it's silenced.
All right, let's get going.
Okay. Tyson, lovely to have you here. Thank you for joining us on More Than a Score. I get to do a little bit of an intro, if that's all right with you.
Please, yeah.
Okay. So I've got here, creative searcher of learning and discovery, lover of helping, understanding and supporting others, musician, surfer, coach, big fan of people, and someone that's lived the fairy tale discovering and marrying your childhood sweetheart / locker neighbour. Finally, passionate careers advocate helping others spot possibilities and paths ahead of them. Tyson Day, welcome to More Than a Score.
Oh, thank you, Dan. That's very nice, mate. That's pretty accurate.
And that's not Wikipedia or anything either.
And I have to get a video of you because your face when you read out those, it's like
So proud. Look at your eyes.
so enthusiastic. It's the best.
Well, you said at the very end, can I just quickly say one thing? So before we make it all about Tyson, is at the end of the year, I used to read out like little comments to every single student in my class. So I remember we'd sit around in a circle, and when I'd give out their school report, I'd tell them all the things we were proud of. And I used to probably do that Cheshire grin.
It's so lovely.
Extra bonus content, just the weird smile as I do the introduction. Is that what you're saying?
More body language, don't you reckon? You're so excited to be able to say these lovely things
Because we
about
get lovely
someone.
people like Tyson.
I know.
Genuinely.
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome.
But I think the excitement is genuine from you too.
Yeah,
I think
you can tell. It's nice.
Well, I've been
That's
very
one thing
excited.
that drew me towards you, mate, when I first met you, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I like how we've turned this to me now. Okay.
You were asking Ellen for some affirmations the other day. Take it where you can get it.
Okay. I'm going to add that to my affirmations book. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Sorry, Loz, I'll hand back to you.
No, I just wanted to start the first episode. The first question we ask in every episode is, were you happy with your score at the end of school?
Well, I got 66.6. So in hindsight, it's the devil's number. So,
I was actually going to say that. I'm like, oh.
and it's like within my line of work, I talk a lot to teenagers and young people. So I actually talk a lot about my score, and I wasn't actually happy about it when I got it. And I think that's in hindsight because a lot of my friends that I was hanging out with were quite academic, and they were just getting really good scores, doing hard subjects, and academia just wasn't really my strong point. I tried really hard, but didn't get I really wanted to get over 75. I don't know why 75 was like the number, but I was pretty crushed when I saw my score. And
so you weren't expecting that score?
No. I was expecting, because in my head I was like, oh, I've worked really hard, I've put myself, like I've done all the right things. And then, when I found out, my mum was there with me and it just crushed me. And she was really happy for me. She was like, that's fantastic. You're in the top 66% or whatever it is. And then I was like, but like, nah. And I just, took me like a full day to recover.
Can I ask, when you say I worked really hard, what did that mean? What were you doing that made you feel like you had worked really hard and it wasn't reflected in the score that you got?
Yeah, so all my subjects, I used to do like these mind maps. So because I wasn't a very good writer and reading wasn't really a strong point either back then, I actually did a bit of undiagnosed dyslexia.
Yeah.
And I would create these like mind maps of the subject and these different things like visual cues.
Which is a great strategy.
It's a brilliant strategy.
Yeah, I find that.
And my teachers were saying, like, this is fantastic. You're putting in the effort, like, good work. And then when I got my score, I was like, what? Like, but I think it was just I had the bar that I'd set for myself was probably not realistic with my capacity back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you also consider how you were being assessed, like maybe you knew everything based on the mind mapping and you could see, I love a mind map. Like it's like one of my favorite things to do, because it shows you where everything connects and then you can write all the links are. And it shows you that you actually understand it, because you're not just writing it out, but the way you were being assessed, like, do you feel like if you'd perhaps been assessed in a different way that maybe you would have been able to demonstrate your knowledge a bit better?
Yeah, for sure. Like looking back on it, I actually would love to have done a unscored VCE or a VCAL program or a VM program now. Yeah. But again, it wasn't really a big thing in my high school. It was like the VCAL crew were going to be tradies or hairdressers and that classic.
It tends to be quite niche as well. Like, there's not a lot of access to it either in a lot of schools.
Totally. But like, it's funny, like knowing what I know now about the education system, I wish I took a little bit of a different path, but hindsight.
Yeah, so many more pathways or options, and they're really trying to push back against that, like the typical snobbery of, say, going for scored versus unscored, which is really good now as well.
Definitely. And, universities are making it easier too, like, and TAFEs and like access programs are really making it a lot easier for young people. So it's great, but I still believe like there's a lot of schools out there that focus too much on ATAR and too much on academic grades. And it's almost like the system is geared against the change, because with a lot of schools, they get graded on the percentage of young people that go to university, the percentage that get over 40, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they use that in their marketing material. Yeah. And so therefore, it just continues to drive the challenge. And then even with the department, so I'm going a bit of a rant here.
Go.
But with the department, you can't actually, like if a young person says they don't know what they want to do after high school, that's almost like a demerit on the school. So they have to either have university, TAFE, or employment, and they don't want to have an unknown. Where a lot of students, they don't know.
Yeah.
They want to take a gap year. There's no...
Well, you might even know, but it might not be the thing you actually do too, right?
Totally,
so you sound really confident going, doing this. If you ask me back when I was in grade 4, I said marine biologist because it was a long couple of words. Whereas as I got older, I kept saying that, and then I realised I didn't actually want to do it. But I might have sounded really confident with the pathway, but I actually had no idea.
Can I ask a question? This is perhaps me sounding really naive, but where does that data need to go? Like you were just saying, like about needing to have a university or a TAFE for an employment. Who's collecting that data from the school? Where is that needing to go? Why is that even a thing? Do you know that?
I only probably know the surface level of it because I used to be a careers counsellor in a school.
Okay, so you know more than me then, at least.
Yeah, well, maybe we can piece the puzzle together.
Yeah, please.
Because We used to, it's called, I think it's still called, or it may have changed when I did it. It was about 3 or 4 years ago. So it was like the cases data. So you'd have to put in destination data of the Year 12 students. And so you'd put in university, TAFE, employment. So employment was essentially apprenticeships. Then you'd have unknown. And that was all the students that were either thinking of going to university or TAFE but hadn't locked anything in, so hadn't completed like a university application, or, you know, they were thinking of going to TAFE but they hadn't needed to. Just students who were taking their time, really. But then there was also cases where they were legitimate unknown. So you try and reach out to the student, you wouldn't get any responses. You try and reach out to the family, no responses, etc. So then I can understand it's appropriate, but for all those other young people that's in that bracket of still trying to figure it out, it gave a false sense of where they were at. And the other challenge too is that when you put that destination data in, it's one thing to apply for a university, it's another thing to enroll. And that's the challenge that a lot of schools have, is that once young people or students leave their environment, there's no real way of tracking what they do unless they join like an alumni page or alumni community, but most students don't really engage with that type of stuff. Where that data goes, I was in a government school, so I was going to the Department of Education, and then I think they use that data to, again, give the school a score around its placement of students post-high school.
Yeah, and so you get like cases is like a data management or like a big data system that you can use. And I think they also then use it to get trends for like regions, networks, and then you can see the states. So it's also connected to government priorities or funding opportunities, or like that's also part of, I think now, why they're looking at so much of the pathways was a response to some of the bigger picture data as well. But
that's it. Like,
it's just one thing, a snapshot of a student at that point in time as well.
And I was only focusing on one section of that data set, being the careers piece.
Yeah.
But it was a bit of a light bulb moment for when I was doing that, kind of going, wow, this is why everyone's pushing young people to put an application in, even if it's not what they want to do or if they're not ready. And that opens up a huge gamut of...
Well, there's this book by Dan Pink called Drive, and in that he unpacks all the like research around internal motivation, external motivation. And if you get caught up, what he says in that is, if you get caught up on targets, so like set numbers, what actually happens is you can lead to getting some really unethical behavior, where if you're just trying to achieve a certain target. So not that I'm saying that's happening here.
Yeah.
But we've also got, if people are trying to get a certain number of people saying that they do have a path, they might respond differently. We're trying to put potential pressure on students, or students feeling like they have to provide a thing when they don't know. It's an unintended consequence for when we focus on like a set target or a number.
Yeah.
We'd actually need a really, like, if you could get a guest on in that, like with that data mind that works in the department, would be fantastic, just to like, because I want to make sure I'm not an expert in that space.
Yeah.
And that was my experience.
Well, if you do know anyone out there, anyone listening, if you do know someone, we'd love to hear it.
It's an interesting thing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I worked in high school for years, and I know I had a lot of the parents come to me and talk to me about like, well, what do you look for? Like, are you looking at NAPLAN results? Are you looking at this? And I mean, I used to also in Year 12, I would sit in data meetings where I would have to explain my data. So I would teach Year 12, and then I would have all these data points come back to me, and I would have to sit there and explain why this student got this, why this student didn't get this, why didn't I value it on this? And I mean, any teacher will tell you, because you're working with human beings, that's why, you know. And you can do, obviously there's things you can, but it's just a data point. And I find it interesting, like you were saying, it's a marketing opportunity for the school. I had a parent come up to me the other day that was saying, you know, I'm shocked, my student's been asked to go non-scored. And non-scored to me is an excellent pathway.
Definitely.
If you are driving it, but when it's something that's been told, this is the pathway we want you to take, that's a very different situation. That's very disempowering.
That's with every pathway, I believe. Like, even if someone's like, oh, you need to take the academic pathway because you're naturally an academic inclined student.
Great point.
Like, they may really want to be a landscape gardener. Like, that actually happened to my wife.
You mean your childhood sweetheart
locker friend that became my wife, or I became her husband.
We should contextualise this in your or before the podcast.
No, I just randomly knew Laura. Sorry.
You didn't tell about his wife was literally his locker. His locker adjacent.
Yeah, it was the first time I met her. Yeah, I was like, I love this locker. was going to hang out here more. But yeah, it's like she had the opposite experience where she's quite a clever person, picks up information quite quickly and quite creative, but it was really driven to her that university would be the best pathway and doing certain subjects would be the best thing for her, where it wasn't actually what she wanted to do. And she actually did hospitality and got like a 48 out of 50, like huge based on her practical capacity. And was doing like chemistry, physics as well to like go into osteopathy. And then she went into biomedical science, hated that, then did a cert for in floristry and was a florist for 10 years. And now she's a farmer at Torello. So
sounds like we need to get your wife pod as well.
Yeah, pretty awesome. Yeah, her story's pretty cool. But, you know, the side effects of those things is like self-doubt and then a lot of debt nowadays with HEX, which is a whole nother topic. So yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Tyson, I wonder if it's all right. I'm really mindful. Before you told us about some of not shortcomings, but you're like, these are the things I found tricky. But I'm really interested in. So you got 66.6, and then you've still got this really flourishing whole life that you've achieved and this really amazing career. So I'm really fascinated to know about your strengths. And something that you said that I noticed was you said the classroom didn't suit me, but you had a teacher that spotted your strengths.
In grade 6.
Yeah, Mr. Maurice.
Yeah,
legend.
What are your strengths?
I'm really good at talking to people. So I love talking to people, relating to people. I think I have really good emotional intelligence too, like social awareness and social intelligence. And I think I'm a natural when it comes to public speaking. I just love public speaking. So I used to love my what's it called? It was like Carson Trophy, I think. It was like the talk.
Oh yeah.
Subject at high school. I think it was Carson Trophy.
You could do a competition or like go further with it.
Yeah, well, at my school it was like an English subject. It was like an English assessment where you had to do a talk for 5 minutes. And I used to love that, love it. I always used to get an A, it was hilarious. But then I'd have to write an essay and get a D. Oh. And so you're right, yeah, like the 10% of people that love that, because a lot of people really don't like public speaking, but I love it. I
think it's one of the greatest fears for majority of people.
Yeah, I don't love it. The irony.
Yeah.
Well, you literally lit up just then when you just said, and you started looking backwards and forwards when you were talking about standing up in front of people. So you obviously do really.
No, I do love it. And my grade 6 teacher, he just kind of unlocked that for me. He was like, Ty, there's many ways to be smart. Don't beat yourself up around your lack of math knowledge or your lack of, because grammar was a huge thing for me too. I just really can't spell. And yeah, he's like, don't, lean into your strengths. Like, stand up in front of the class, talk. And I wasn't I'd talk about anything.
But I think that's where it comes back, especially when you get to, because I did lots of marking at VCAR level. And that's a really tricky thing, because at English, we would often try and embed public speaking or creativity, but it was never examinable because it's too hard to consistently mark.
Yeah.
And so this is what was really tough, is that you would get these incredible kids writing these amazing creative stories, or you'd have the most amazing speakers. And ultimately, I got to see that, but it never went any further because it's too challenging to mark in a consistent way. And I think, when we're talking about assessments, you got this score that you weren't happy with, but I mean, you were never really assessed in the places that you had the greatest strengths because it's too challenging for a body to assess consistently. And I think that is a real shame.
That's the vice we're still in, aren't we?
We are absolutely still in it. Yep.
Because, you're so right. Like, to assess a body of work takes a lot of resources. And so ATAR exams, it's the easiest way and the most economical way for us to mass assess a large portion of people. And what is it, like 60,000 young people every year in Victoria, go through that process. So, yeah.
I thought it might be a really helpful question now, given that when this episode gets released, we're coming up to the end of year 12 for a lot of people, results coming out. You said you were shattered when you got yours and that your mum was really supportive and you had that really tough day where you're adjusting. So out of the 60,000 people that are coming out, there's probably going to be some people out there that are shattered. Having gone through it, if you can remember, what helped you bounce back? Or just sit, when you think back to it, what helped?
Well, I think my parents were really supportive. Like, they were always champions of my learning, because I think they could see early on, like, I found it difficult in classrooms, and to their credit, they really tried to give me a lot of extra help, alternative therapies too to help with that process, which was cool. And there was a few unlocks there, which was great. And then my mum in particular, she just put in the time with like reading my work and helping me with like linking sentences together and all that type of stuff. And so she could see in particular, I think, the work that I'd put in. And I learned very quickly, like I had a bit of an experience when I was in year 9 where I wasn't really applying myself at school. And my folks had that hard conversation saying like, hey, and I was very fortunate. I went to a private education community and they said, look, we can pull you out of this environment. Like, you need to understand that this is a big investment for us. And also, like, we would love to see you apply yourself more. And I pulled my socks up because I was terrified of getting booted out or taken out rather. And they could just see the work that I think I was doing. Like, I was asking questions. I was, staying back after school, asking teachers, like, doing the work. And I think they were just like, good on you, mate. Like, you passed, you did it. I don't know this for sure, but I think maybe early in my education journey, they were like getting told he's going to find it hard to pass. He's going to find it hard to finish school.
Right.
I don't know that for sure, but I think that's the narrative that was potentially told.
So something that they did, I'm thinking of the listener sitting there in case their child, or if they're listening, has the same experiences. It sounds like they recognise the effort. So they kept bringing back to the effort and they said, we're still so proud of you. You did this. We know that this is...
Yeah.
And was there a sense of them helping you see, like, this is just one point in time going forward?
Absolutely. Yeah. So my dad was a classic example. Like, he wasn't the most academic guy, but when my mum was, but my dad was like similar traits to me, just loved working with people, helping people. He was massive into his fitness stuff, and that was like his main focus. And so, he just was like, you'll be fine. Like, it's okay. Like, as long as you're trying hard. Because he always used to say, this is ingrained in my mind, he's like, look at me, son, 4 Ds and an E. So I was like, don't really want to be 100% like, no. But like, it was... Yeah.
What a great model.
Yeah. I actually love that.
Yeah. He was fully like, he was just like, it's all good. Like, there's going to be a way for you to figure out what it is that you want to do. Like, don't stress.
Do you know what it is? I think by speaking those grades out loud that technically, academically are not the greatest grades, it actually just takes all the shame out of them.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? Like, I'm owning them. They're me. 3 Ds and an E, was it?
Yeah, 4 Ds and an E.
4 Ds and an E. Like, I love the fact that, like, if you shine light on it.
Yeah.
That's part of my journey. It's not who I am. It's just part of the journey.
Yeah. And to my parents' credit, they were very good at, sharing their own frustrations within high school and with university and their own learnings. And that's something we really preach when we work with parents. It's just, you got to open up the conversation. Like, it can't just all be you focusing on the young person. You have to share your own vulnerabilities, your own challenges to build that trust. And I really felt that with my folks. Like, they were like, slap on the back. They're like, good effort. You've done well. You're at the reframe. Like, you're in the top 66%. Don't stress. Like, it's all good. And I think it was just because I was in that bubble. Like, one of my best mates got 93, and then my other best mate got like 85, and then my other one got like 86, and so it's just like, this constant, what'd you get, man?
And it is for that I say 48 hours after. That's pretty much all anyone speaks about. And
it's institutionalized. Like, you walk into a school and in reception, like, I get to visit many different schools in my work, and in reception, like, every single school, there's like the ducks. Yeah. This is what they got. There's a picture of them. This is our top 10 achievers. Percentage of students that got above 40. Like, it's just ingrained in us.
Yeah.
There's no like walk into a school, apart from maybe a couple, where it's like apprentice of the year. Do you know what I mean? Or like young entrepreneur, up and coming. Yeah. Like, it's just very specific. Yeah.
Well, that's something like when you talk about culture, it's the things that routines, traditions, but then also like your symbols that you have. So those sorts of things tell you about the culture of it as well.
In your pre-form, you said that post-school, you kind of really didn't have a clear direction. You felt a little bit lost. I'd love to know, for people that are feeling that way, whether it's post-school, whether it's, they're in a career transition, we can feel lost in so many places in our life. I'd love to know how you navigated that feeling of like, I just am not sure what direction I'm going in.
Yeah, so I took a gap year, and that was mainly just because I felt pretty burnt out from high school. It took a lot of energy for me to study and all that type of stuff, and I also found it hard. I'm a lot better at it now, but I also found it hard to like concentrate for long periods of time. So I was just like, I just need a break. And so I took a gap year, but I also, my parents were pretty old school in that they said, you get 1 year after high school, like to, you don't have to pay board or anything like that. But, if you want a car, you got to save for the money yourself and got to get a job. And I was already working like a couple of shifts at a surf store and doing some basketball refereeing and things like that. And so my gap year, I was just kind of like, okay, I need to save a bit of money, like to get a car. And that was my objective. And also just to kind of have fun and find myself. And unfortunately at the start, a part of finding myself was playing a lot of video games and just, not really doing much. And then they had that conversation with me again, like, hey, this is not, you can't just sit here and play video games. And that's the big thing I pass on to young people is you've got to take action. Like, even if you don't know what it is that you want to do, you got to start doing something. And if you don't like it, that's still a win because it's cementing going, hey, I don't like this. So if I don't do something, if I don't take action, I'm probably going to end up doing this longer than I actually want to. And for me, that was the case because I worked, at pizza shops. I did like labouring. I did garden maintenance. I did, kitchen handwork. I did all this stuff that is pretty, generally speaking, low barrier to employment. So in the back of my head, I was like, I need to get qualified in something because I'm not going to be able to get a seat at the table in the types of environments I want to go into. So that was like the main thing with my gap year was just taking action and just kind of, trying to go, all right, what does it mean to rock up to a job that I don't like? What does it mean to get paid, then spend all my money on the weekend and realize, hang on a second, I have nothing left. Like I need to start to think about budgeting. I need to start thinking about getting myself to A to B and just, becoming an adult really.
Yeah. When you consider all those sort of incidental experiences that you've had, because you had 2 gap years, what are the things that you learnt that you still use today or that are still really important in the things that you do now?
My gap years taught me a lot about what it means to work hard, doing things that you don't really like. And I think that's a really valuable lesson for a lot of people, especially young people, because yes, we're in this like opportunity of abundance, I feel, for a lot of young people, but also there's like this, it's only going to happen if you put the work in. It's like that classic old school mentality. And so I got exposed to some people running small businesses well, also running small businesses very poorly. I got access to people who didn't really enjoy their job. They hated coming to work. And I was like, I don't want to be like that. So I just was exposed to different environments where I was like, yeah, cool. I like what they're doing. Don't like what they're doing. And just leaning into those types of things. But my first gap year was very scripted in that I knew I was going to university the following year. So I said, this is just to make a bit of money, have a bit of fun. Then I'll go to university and I'll find myself again. But then when I finished the course, I had a bit of a clash of values because the work that I was going into, I really enjoyed, but was taking me further away from the things that I enjoyed more. So like my relationship, like my friends, music at the time. So like I had to decide and go, okay, well, what's more important? Is it those things or is it my job? And I just decided it was the other things. So I had to, again, find myself for my second gap year. And I remember the conversation during that gap year, like my wife or my girlfriend, who's now my wife, she said to me, she's like, what are you doing with your life?
How awesome that you've got someone there like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah. I don't think she did it in such a...
Oh, yeah. It's like, more support. Like, I'm a little bit, I'm a bit interested.
Yeah. She was more like, what are you doing with your life?
Oh, no, that's good. That's good.
I was like, like, I'm in the band, like, I'm a removalist at the moment, like, just trying to figure it out. I just spoke to a few people, like, got a job at, like, after that, I got, like, my first proper full-time job in, like, an education company. And then I saw this one guy after about 6 months working there, and I was just like, I want that guy's job. Like,
how old were you at this time?
I probably was about 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
So about 6 years from finishing up school to this point.
Yeah. And in that period, I'd done a little bit of travel. I'd worked maybe 10, 15 jobs, probably, maybe more. And so I kind of had an idea around what I liked, what I didn't like. I'd moved out of home too, which I think was good for me because it, again, increased my independence. And like, okay, if I need to put food on the table, if I need to, want to go on holidays, want to buy nice things, want to spend time with people, I need to work.
Yeah. Suddenly maths is a necessary thing, right?
Exactly. Like budgeting, like I came home from overseas and I was like, I have nothing. I need to do something.
It's funny you say that. Tom was having a conversation with a young guy that worked for him, and he went in and was just sort of saying, I'm not feeling very motivated, I'm this, I'm that. And he's like, mate, you're 27 and you're living at home.
Yeah.
Of course you're not motivated.
Yeah.
Like and I think it's not always, moving out of home, but sometimes if you look at your life, what is it about it that's sort of taking away the reason to be motivated?
Yeah.
I
think it always comes down to like a big change. Like sometimes you just need a big change. So if that's like starting full-time work, because I talk to a lot of young people and they go, I don't really want to start full-time work. And I'm like, okay, well, if not now, when?
There's also a thing around stress too. So I'm not saying like you need some stress at some point because you literally, your body then responds it's a stimulus, right? So by doing that, what Tom's saying to that person is there's a little bit of risk and stress by you moving out of home, but it's almost like a productive form. It's not super overwhelming. Yeah, you don't want to get to that point where it's too much.
Yes.
But you need enough so that
you stretch that comfort zone.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Move out, and that's exactly right. You move out of that complacency.
Yeah. And so it doesn't have to be one. There's so many ways of doing that, right?
Yeah. Tyson, I interrupted you. I was really mindful. You're at a really great point where you're talking about you were at that education company and you saw someone do a thing and you were like, oh, I want that, because that's the turning point, it sounds like, for you. Was a little bit directionless, not too sure. You were working out what you didn't want to do. You were learning great lessons. What did you notice in that person?
He was very entrepreneurial. So I always wanted to run my own business, and I grew up with like my parents running their own small business, and I always wanted to run my own business. I just didn't know what. And then I went along to this event and he was the MC. And I was like, who is this dude? Like, he just rocked up, like he's cracking jokes. He's like the life of the party. And I just, I didn't see him come back into the office for a little while. And then when he did, I was like, I got to go up and speak to him. And so I just went up to him and I was like, hey mate, my name's Tyson. And he's like, oh, hey. And I was like, oh, could I buy you like a coffee or something? Or I saw you at that event and I just thought it was really cool. And yeah. And he's like looking at me, he's like,
a little bit of risk, a little bit of stress there, put yourself out there.
I think he was looking at me kind of going like, seeing maybe a bit of himself in me, kind of going, all right, this kid's just trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, sure. He goes, your shout, right? And I was like, yeah, of course.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And so we made a coffee date and I just like downloaded onto him. I was like, mate, I'm a bit lost. I don't know what to do. How do you do? Like, what do you do? And he was like this quite an entrepreneurial guy. Like he'd had 3 or 4 businesses already. He was working on this other project. And I just was like, whoa, like he was the first person I kind of met that was like, I want a life like that. Like that's kind of cool. And yeah, so it was a really positive experience. But again, that like little leap of faith going like, okay, he could say no and just be like,
well, it's always no unless you ask.
Yeah. That's right. We say that to our kids, don't we, Dan?
We just interviewed someone and they were talking about the power of weak links. So it's this idea of you tap into different things, and if you don't ask, it's already a no. But from there, you had this amazing opportunity that's now led to many other things.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to know around like with your journey then. So you started to pursue that. You got an insight into being entrepreneurial, being able to go chase your own business. Why careers counselling?
Yeah.
And I'm going to also ask a second question. Why the words arrive and thrive? So first, why careers counselling, and then talk us through those 2 words.
Yeah, so while I was working that education consulting group, I was kind of like, okay, I don't really have skills yet. Like I don't really have a qualification. Like I was qualified as an outdoor education leader and like some positive psychology stuff with my university degree, but I wasn't really like a qualified like coach or counselor or, a marine biologist. Like I didn't have a particular...
Me either. I'm not either. Never sued it.
And so I was like, okay, I probably need to get some sort of like quals here, because then just looking at my resume and things like that. And I was exposed to coaching as a young person. Like my parents are coaches. And I kind of thought, this is like a really cool transferable skill, because you can place it into many different settings. It helps you like communicate more effectively, just, in your own life, but then also in the workplace. And so during that time of working there, I was doing some extra study. And so that's the other thing too. I think just the pursuit of knowledge for young people is really important. So if you find stuff that you're interested in, go down the rabbit hole. Like you have information at your fingertips these days. So lean into those things. And so for me, I signed up to a coaching course, was working there, was doing that coaching stuff as well, and started to kind of go, all right, yeah, I feel like I was using a little bit of this stuff when I was in the outdoors. So like leading young people, we're doing whitewater rafting, we were doing like hiking. And then at the end of the day, you debrief around the day. And my favorite part of the experience was always around the campfire, saying like, hey, how did everyone go today? Like, what was the challenges? How did we overcome that as a group? What did we notice about each other? Like I loved that side. And so when I was going down that road of coaching, I found myself reflecting a lot on that time of when I was in the outdoors. And someone that I met through my second job, because I was working for that education company, but then was like, oh, I want to move on from this workplace. And so I got a job as a careers coach through that qualification at a university. And I met someone in that environment there and said, I think you'd be really good at targeting more career counseling as opposed to just general kind of coaching. And so I did a certificate when I was there through MIT, just the career development counseling course, and got a few more runs on the board, like coaching and counseling people, and kind of realized, okay, yeah, this is what I want to do. And then a bit of a happenstance moment, I got made redundant from that job, and I was like, yes, I can start my own business. I've got like a little bit of capital behind me, which was like, $10,000, but I was like, gave me like a little bit of a runway to be like, okay, cool. Like I'll figure it out. I'll back myself. And to my wife's credit, she was like, yeah, go for it. Like, and we were, she was at uni. I was we were just plugging things together, and we'd just taken out our first like mortgage, and we were like, ooh, and she was like, no, let's give it a crack. And so, somehow made it work. And then Arrive and Thrive came about when I reconnected with a mate who I went to university with. And the original idea was to help international students arrive and thrive in Melbourne. So it was like to help young people or international students come to Melbourne, thrive, get a job, meet people, experience the Melbourne culture. And we started that, and it was like just very hard. Like starting a business is always hard, but what I've learned is that sometimes there's momentum in certain areas, and there's like a little bit of, your market will decide on what the product or service is. And so we were trying to push this idea, and it was just really hard. Like it was hard to get funding. It was hard to get participants. Universities were kind of like, oh, that's interesting, and kind of taking our concept and running it their own. And you're like, oh man, it's not really working. And then I went to like a networking lunch, just a random thing for a careers network. And then a lady was like, that sounds great. Why don't you run that for our year 12s? And I was like, cool. Yeah. All right. When do you want me to do it? She's like, oh, next year in February. I was like, okay, cool. And in my head, I was like, I hope the business is still around. I was like, yep, I'll be there. And then, did it. And then the rest is history. Like,
How long ago was that?
That was in 2019. Yeah. So then COVID hit, but, I was fortunate that I had some consulting work that I could, through the careers counselling, that I could do through that period. And our business, we bootstrapped. So we were doing different jobs to support the running of that business.
Yeah. And just in case someone isn't familiar with bootstrapping. Asking for a friend here. No, so if they're not familiar, just because if someone's listening, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, so my understanding of bootstrapping is that you just use your own money.
Yeah.
So it's like, that might look like that you've put your savings into your business, or you might work another job while you're still trying to bump up this other one.
Yeah.
And so Arrive and Thrive was my side hustle, and then it became my full-time thing.
Yeah.
And when did you make that transition?
2022. So
congratulations.
yeah, thank you. Yeah. So feel quite fortunate to be doing the thing that I love doing and trying to help people on the journey as well.
And it seems that so going back to, was it Mr. Maurice?
Mr. Maurice, yeah.
Mr. Maurice. So it seems like a strength of yours too is you've got this really great ability to spot opportunities where they might not necessarily, others might not see them. Like you got made redundant and you literally went like, yes.
Yeah.
And then you backed yourself. And then this ability to also use really great listening to be able to hear what people are needing. Because some people might have had that person say, oh, you should do it for the year 12s. Someone might not hear that opportunity.
So that's not my model, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, and you then playing to that strength of, I see an opportunity. Yeah, I hope the business is still here in February. But you backed yourself to be able to continue to do it.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, I think just through the people that I'd spoken to in the careers space, so I was pre-kids, I was very active in the networking space. Like I was going to events, I was doing the podcast, I was like trying to meet and greet and soak up as much information as I could. Now, because I've got young kids, your priorities shift a little bit. And so when I was on that journey of trying to get Arrive and Thrive going, I was constantly talking to people. And the theme that I was hearing a lot was there's not enough support for school careers counsellors. That was just the constant thing. And like people go, like there was a few people that were saying, don't work with schools, it's too hard. And I was like, oh, I wonder why that is. Like my parents always instilled this like curiosity piece of kind of going, okay, why are they saying that? Doesn't mean it's right. Try and dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah. What's the opportunity that sits under that?
And what did you find? What did you find? Like why was that a hurdle for more people, the idea of working with a school?
I don't know. Like I think some people just have their own bias around what's easy, what's hard. And in hindsight, I actually find schools really easy to work with.
Okay.
Like a lot easier than universities and other places we've worked with. So
do you think coming into schools with the background that you've had of being someone that was shattered by their score, was someone that was a little bit lost, somebody that didn't necessarily go down one pathway but had such a varied direction, I suppose, do you think that's made you the right person for this message and to be going into schools? Do you feel like that your journey and who you are and how you've come to this place allows you to connect with teens?
I think so. I also think there's some factors that are beyond my control. I think like because I'm a young male too is a big thing that I hear a lot. Like people say it's so nice to hear your perspective as a young male, because a lot of career counsellors, generally speaking, in schools are older females, which is great because I think a lot of young people need like that mother hen kind of approach. And like coaching and psychology and any kind of thing, you connect with different people on different moments in your life. So I think the feedback I normally get is like, you know, it's great the message you share because it's very similar to what we share, but in a different way.
Yeah.
And you know, you're sharing your own mistakes, sharing your own story. Young people can relate to that. So yeah, I think it's a few factors. Like my training is pretty unique too, like being a coach, careers counsellor and someone who loves public speaking. There's not normally that mix. A lot of career counsellors don't enjoy public speaking. They'd like to work one-on-one with people. Where like a lot of public speakers may not necessarily have the careers training.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just what I've found. I'm sure there's, you know, a few unicorns out there, but yeah, that's just what I found.
I'm really fascinated around this idea that you had of, I remember you saying like, I've worked in areas that I don't like, which was some of the best learning I could have had as a young person.
Yeah.
So non-examples have been really helpful for you. So thinking of the listener, thinking of people that are going through this and all the years they've got ahead of them, what are the key lessons to not do to help you be more successful?
I think you got to put yourself out there. You got to take action in some way. So like you got to go up and talk to someone. You got to go up and put yourself out there, like stretch your comfort zone. It's about knowing when an idea is not working too is a really important thing. So you can have the best idea and you might go, okay, I think people want this or I think people need to know this. But if you are not getting the feedback or you're not getting that momentum and it feels hard, something probably needs to shift. And so having the ability to kind of go, okay, I've tried this. What's not working? like, how can I change things? And this is that growth mindset, I think, is really, really important. So if you have a fixed mindset, if you're not taking action, they're two big ones in my opinion. And I think curiosity is just vital, like, for young people this day and age in particular. Like, you've got, you know, Chat GPT, you've got all these AI. I'm really curious around what my kids will do for work because this AI journey seems to double in strength every 8 months. And so it's like, if you don't have a sense of curiosity, it's very hard for you to be able to lean into potential opportunities and areas that could be a great fit or successful. So, yeah. Did that answer your question? So I went on to
No, it didn't. Yeah, I'm thinking, I'm mindful of the non-examples, right? Sometimes we say people have like what to do, but sometimes it can help to frame it around, because someone might be sitting there playing video games the whole time. Yeah. So, like, you know, goes to your point, take action. Yeah. But we need to spot what are the things that it might look like when people aren't doing those. Yeah. And even that's really interesting, that idea of like the sunken cost. You know, sometimes you're putting in so much time and effort to an idea or a product, or it sounds like for you were working out your thing, but you didn't get too stuck, where sometimes people think I've put in all this time and effort into a thing.
Yeah.
But your point is really helpful, because it's, if you're never getting the kind of feedback that's telling you this is helpful, or you're not seeing momentum, that's probably a bit of an indication that something might need to change, or you need to consider a different approach.
It's not wasted time though. Like, people need to...
Well, you're proof of that.
Yeah. Well, I think, like, you know, anyone who runs a business is proof of that. Like, it's not wasted time, because you're learning how to do something or how not to do something. And so, yeah, if you're a parent and you're seeing a young person like refuse to engage, like if you're seeing them not trying, if you're seeing them put off like these types of decisions and these types of things, like, there's some of the warning signs, I would say, to dive a little bit deeper and go, okay, how can we steer this ship around? Because if you don't have that level of drive, and you don't have that level of curiosity, and you don't have that level of just the willingness to stretch yourself, it's going to be really hard for you to be able to find something that has purpose and meaning for you.
It sounds like your supporters too were warm demanders. Like, when I was a teacher and also leading schools, I always used to want to be a warm demander, even like as a dad now as well. So I'll always dial up the warmth if needed. So if they're needing some extra sort of help or support, I'll do that. But then I'll dial up the challenge, where I can push people, but I can only do that if they trust me. Yeah. And we got a relationship. So it sounds like your mum and dad would do that at certain times, or your wife, when she was your girlfriend, did that. She's like, what are you doing with your life? So dialing up the challenge because you had all those other times of that great support as well.
Yeah, it's such a good call, being a warm demander, because that's something we preach to our parents, is like, that we work with, is like, you have to come from a space of empathy. If you say, this worked for me when I was younger, or you need to do this because that worked for you, doesn't mean it's going to work for your young person. And times have changed so much. Like, young people have analysis paralysis around their options. And I use this metaphor when I talk to parents around, it's like when you go to a buffet dinner, right? And as a parent, you just want your young person to eat. You're like, just choose something, just eat. I just don't want you to starve. Like, it's the same with careers. It's like, just choose something. I don't want you to be unemployed. And it's like, well, hang on. We don't know if they like
chicken nuggets.
Yeah, or chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
We don't know if they're going to want to be a doctor. That might be your dream. So again, that's the kind of challenge that they're up against.
Plus, the landscape is shifting so dramatically. As you said, like, AI is doubling, every 8 months. And I think, the roles of schools now have shifted. We're not really looking at creating a doctor or a lawyer. We're trying to build in as many skills as we possibly can, so that whatever they decide to do, because there'll be jobs that haven't even been invented yet that they'll ultimately be occupying. So I don't think that's the role anymore. It's not the conveyor belt of, this job, this job, this job. It's like, well, here's all the skills you have.
Yeah.
And I think that we, even as parents and educators, need to stretch our mind around, well, what are skills that maybe we didn't need that this new generation is going to need? Like, how do we facilitate those kinds of things too?
Definitely. And like, one thing we really encourage is like getting young people to fall in love with career directions. So not necessarily jobs.
Yeah, cool.
So if they go, yeah, I'm really interested in healthcare, great. Like, what are the things that you can do in healthcare? Or I'm really interested in construction, great. What are the things you can do in construction? Not necessarily targeting like a specific job, more of a direction.
It's really similar to, we've interviewed Eleni earlier on, and she was talking about playing to like your interests and your passion. So it's a similar sort of thing. It's like spot the direction and the areas that you can then play to your strengths.
I wanted to mention you wrote down advice for parents, and I really loved this. You said be a fan, not a captain.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, so we do public parent webinars. We started doing those this year. And this is actually a classic example of what we were talking about before. Like, for so long, I was like, is this going to work? Like, are parents going to want to, like, participate in these types of things? And yeah, we've actually had overwhelming positivity from it, so which has been really cool. And one of our big messages is participate as a fan and not the team captain. So what we mean by that is stand to the side, support, be their biggest advocate, and, you know, play that, you know, warm parenting role when you need to, because it is tough. They're going to bump into some challenges. But choosing a career direction is probably their first major life decision where they need to make it themselves. And so the research backs this up in that if you expose your young person to making these decisions themselves, and you expose them to things called informational interviews, so talking to people in industries that they find interesting, their career confidence increases, and therefore that's transferable into other areas of their lives. So it's like, okay, I remember this experience where I didn't quite get the answer I needed, but I was able to go find it myself, and that muscle strengthens for another area in their life. So if they break up with someone, they have like a difficulty with a friendship or an employer, whatever, they've faced a similar challenge or stretch in another area that can then be used again. So transferable skills. And often when we speak to parents, there's a common narrative where it's, my young person will do this, or they will study at Melbourne University, or they will be a doctor, they're wanting to do law, and they're talking for their young person, and their young person is right there.
Wow.
And so we just really encourage this ownership. So saying, hey, what is it that your young person wants to do, and how can you empower that? And how can you warmly challenge to like that narrative? So it could be something like, you say to your young person, what do you want to do? And they say, I want to be a graphic designer. Great. Why do you want to be a graphic designer? So using like coaching methodology to help them unpack it.
Yeah.
So what are the options to be a graphic designer? What are some challenges that you think graphic design might face in the next few years? Do we know any graphic designers that can potentially shed some light on it? Because too often, and everyone does this, someone will say, I want to do, I want to be a software developer. People go, don't be a software developer. No, AI's going to take that job. What are you talking about? No. And that person handing out advice isn't a software developer.
You're so right. So many naysayers there are.
So many naysayers. And so you've got to be particularly careful, because you don't want to kill someone's dream. Yeah, you just don't want to kill someone's dream.
Well, there's this guy in the coaching world called Michael Bungay Stanier, and he says, one of his famous quotes is, your advice isn't as good as you think it is. That's the thing. It's like, shut up and actually ask them what they think they need more of. I really resonate with that experience of the parents telling you what they will do. So my dad probably wasn't his best self when I also was probably not a really helpful human. I was not my best self between like 15 and 17. But I remember him telling, like, he drove me past Melbourne University and said, that's where you're going to go. And then I remember saying, he was an engineer, and he told me I should do engineering. So then from then on, I purposely just stirred the pot with him, telling him all the things just to annoy him. And then imagine all that effort and energy I was spending just to annoy my dad.
Yeah.
Like, that could have gone elsewhere.
Yeah.
And it's the worst when you're making decisions out of spite.
Yeah.
So if someone, like if a young, like, because we speak to some tertiary students too occasionally, and, we'll hear things like, I don't actually want to do this. Like, I want to be a nurse, but my parents told me I should do engineering. And it's like, and now the risk is like a huge HECS debt. And now it's like university's not free anymore. So I think a lot of parents assume that they can just change courses and things like that. But that racks up a lot of debt these days. Yeah, there's just these other layers that I think a lot of parents aren't aware of. And, being a parent myself, like everyone, I'm a firm believer that everyone's trying to do the best they can with what they've got.
Of course.
And so parents are often just sharing advice that suited them back in their day. Yeah. Or in some cases, they're sharing advice which they wish they had but that still may not suit their young person.
Yeah.
Or current climate either, right?
Yeah. And I think it's a tricky thing too in that, because there's two aspects I see, which is, so there's school and there's education. So school's just a place, and the hard part is a lot of the time everyone's gone through school, so they think their way is the way that you go through school, and sometimes people don't see that education isn't set and just school continues throughout the rest. Like you said before, it's just constantly learning fine knowledge. So I think they're two very different things that sometimes parents mix up, is they think you have to follow this approach of school, but they forget that there's a lot of different pathways or a lot of different ways to educate and learn.
We have a saying at Arrive and Thrive too, where it's like often your education will get you a seat at the table, depending on the occupation or the career direction that you're interested in, but your skills and relationships will get you into the conversation.
Yeah, I think Gallup did some research around that too, and they were like, EQ then takes you further. So it's like the IQ or certain things will get you into the door, but then career-wise to like escalate it, it's EQ.
Yeah, so those relationships and transferable.
Tyson, one thing I was going to ask, I'm slightly putting you on the spot here, but I'm really mindful of that idea. You asked someone for a coffee, and I love the mutual exchange. They said, well, you'll shout, and then I'll be able to share some of my insight. Would you be open to people wanting to reach out to actually grab a coffee if there's someone out there that's got a student or a child at school that potentially might be similar to what you were, if they reached out to us or something like that, where they could ask for a coffee?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm always happy to have conversations with people around this type of stuff, because it's an area of my passion and interest. Yeah, people can just reach out to me at tyson@arrivethrive.com.au. Just send me an email.
And also the webinar, I think that, if people didn't want the sort of one-on-one, the webinar sounds like a really good opportunity for parents to connect with you. How do you do that?
Yeah, so once a term we run a national webinar for parents and carers. And so people can just go to our website, or they can just connect on our socials. So just Arrive_Thrive on Instagram, and then just our Arrive and Thrive LinkedIn page. And we'll just share the registration link. We charge $30 for a registration, but both parents can attend. And then you also get a career conversation kit as well. So it's like a 10-page PDF that just helps guide the conversation if you need. And we run those once a term.
And you were saying there's opportunity for schools to support.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're really big on ensuring that everyone gets exposure to this type of information. So if $30 is too much for your family situation, just send us an email at hello@arrivethrive.com.au, and we can organise a sponsored ticket. Or if you're an educator and you want to run this within your community, you can just send us an email again, the same email address, and ask for some tickets, and then you can share those with your families as you like.
And we'll put all that in the show notes anyway. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Now, I'm interested. So the final question I have for you. So given everything we've covered and where you're going, knowing that you're a lover of knowledge, acquiring things, exploring things, what's the one key skill that you're currently trying to focus on, or the next key skill you want to focus on?
Next key skill. I'm really fascinated by this whole AI movement within education. I find it so interesting. I find it so interesting because...
In education specifically?
Yeah, the use of AI in education.
Okay.
I think it's changing what it means to go to school. Like, the knowledge you get at a click of a button. And obviously there's some teething issues there. Trying to ensure that information's accurate, deep fakes, all that kind of stuff. But I find that world so interesting.
Yeah. Is there a certain thing you've been playing with when you're using different AI tools?
Yeah, I've been playing around with, from a business sense, I've been playing around with a lot of workflows. So automated workflows. So if someone clicks a link, then therefore that automates another function. So just being able to run a really successful business quite lean is something that I'm really interested in at the moment. So there's that. But I'm also interested in, a lot of those apps out there that you can essentially talk natural language to code applications. I find that really interesting. So a few years back, everyone was like, you got to do programming, you got to learn how to code, da, 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 da. And now that is all taken care of. And so I'm interested in like how everyday people can use this information, like use that technology and information to create meaningful careers. So yeah.
I love it. No, I think it's,
Dan loves AI.
Well, I just figure it's here. And I mean, AI is like such a big thing. Like there's so many smaller parts, tools, all that sort of stuff, like what you just said there. And I think there's some great advantages. Tyson, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today on More Than a Score. If you do know someone that's got a similar story or a different story like Tyson, please reach out to us, morethanascorepod@gmail.com. But thank you so much for being on.
Thanks for having me here, guys. Coffee, the biscuits.
Oh, the Florentines are hard, 9 out of 10.
Did you want to plug those?
Oh, yeah. Like in Mornington, seriously, could we be sponsored, please? Because it's you're burning a hole in my pocket.
Chocolate, Mornington. We will love you forever.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Now we got a slight tradition. Can we try a crisp high five? Is that all right? If we do it, are you allowed to ask for a high five? I feel like
He just did.
Yeah. All right. We'll just edit that out, right? Let's go. Woo! Yes, mate. There we go. That was good.
Someone told me actually with high fives, look at the person's elbow.
Yeah. They're on slow breath.
He's got long arms though, so it was
And like half. I'm not going to miss.
a face five.
But I think what you guys are doing is really needed. And
I hope so.
It's great to connect with people in the community, in my local community too, of driving a good message. So thanks, guys.
Pleasure, mate.
Also, I think too, like when we talk to people, what I find interesting is actually there's a lot of shame in people's journeys that they've held on to for a really long time, or they don't really tell anybody that they've had these failures or these.
Yeah.
And I think the more we talk about the fact that it's in the redirection, or it's in the lost moments, or it's in the things you actually didn't really want to do that gets you to the places, I think that we need to start talking about that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's such a good point. And I'm sure you two are the same. Some of the hardest times and hardest moments of my life, I look back and go, that was actually the real making of who I am.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So it's hard at in the moment to cop it on the chin or to keep going. I often think, because there's days still where I'll be doing my thing and I've had a difficult presentation, or, someone hasn't paid me and I'm stressed and I'm going far out. Is this all worth it? But then the little reframe I always tell myself is that 5 years from now, I'm going to regret pulling the pin when I did. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, it's like they talk about it in diamond mining. So often there was these stories of people when they were first doing it, you digging in the tunnel, and at a certain point they stop and they turn away, and then the next person comes up and digs and finds the diamond. So it's like,
I feel like that's like a pokey machine, isn't it? Someone sit on the pokey machine.
But then it's like, this is what Laura does. Oh no, wait. She's the person standing waiting for people to get off the pokers.
Yeah, is that actually not? Yeah.
The creep with my bucket.
Yes. But it was funny when you were sharing about your parents, that idea of, I think the thing that maybe came through is the score doesn't have to define you. That's if there's one thing I wish that every kid heard, because I remember when I got to the end, I mucked around in year 12. I'm very I have a pretty good memory, so I didn't study for exams.
One of those guys.
So annoying. But I remember I had a friend and he was shattered. He got 87 and he said that he was gutted with that. Now you're in the top 13%. And he was despondent. And I remember at the time going, I didn't know the saying now, but that comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all looking at this score, and no matter what, right? So you get 87, that's incredible. Or if you're getting 92, that's amazing. Or you're getting 66. Either way, it doesn't actually matter in the end. What matters is what you then do next.
Yeah,
this is the important part.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. It's all about how we measure that thing, right? The things that you were really great at, you actually didn't have the opportunity to measure in VCE. That's the other thing too.
It defines, it also really depends on how you define success too.
Yeah.
So we didn't even get to that today. I know.
Yeah.
That's all good. That really depends, because you'll have some crew that think, success is high ATARs, first entry into grad programs, promotions, leadership roles before certain age brackets, all that type of stuff, where you'll talk to someone else and they'll say, success is
contentment.
Contentment.
Yep.
Holidays.
I remember chatting to him. He did all the right and put it in the air quotes, but he got 99, went into medicine, and he hated it the whole time. And I saw him just most recently, was a year ago, and he doesn't know what he wants to do. And he was like, but I did all the things I was supposed to. That's literally what he said to me. I did all the things I was supposed to, and now I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And he's 40.
And I wondered too, because where did the decision come from? Like you were saying, was that decision actually not his?
Yeah.
And so he's not, he's that skill, that muscle of building up, backing myself, backing the decisions that I want to make.
Yeah.
Perhaps that was a little bit of arrested development for him.
Yeah.
Well, I love the idea of the career direction, because I think that's important. Like if you care about health, or if you care about being creative or helping people. Like the reason I became a teacher was I watched my older sister do it. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I did landscape architecture, got into that, promptly realised I bombed, failed my first year. I spent more time at the pub. And but I watched my older sister, and then in the end I remember I was like, yeah, of course, I've always loved learning. I've always loved being a bit silly. So primary education made sense to me. I can get paid to have a lot of fun, engage kids, and I like being with people and helping people. Fits all those things. Yeah, I'll give it a crack.
Yeah.
And it just happened to work.